So here's my challenge to you today. Whatever goal you're working toward in your career, your health, your finances, your relationships, take 5 minutes and invert it. Ask yourself, what would guarantee failure? Write those things down. Then make sure you're not doing any of them. You might be surprised at how much clarity this simple exercise provides. Sometimes the path to success isn't about doing more. It's about stopping the things that hold you back. That's your morning digest for Sunday, February the 8th. Markets are moving, the world is shifting, and the future belongs to those who think clearly. Invert your problems, avoid the obvious mistakes, and keep showing up. Have a fantastic day ahead, and I'll see you right here tomorrow morning. Good morning. Welcome to your daily morning digest for Sunday, February the 8th, 2026. I'm your host, and we have got a packed show for you today. Markets are surging, crypto is crashing, the Winter Olympics have kicked off in spectacular fashion, and Japan is heading to the polls in a historic snap election. Grab your coffee, settle in, and let's get into it. Let's start with the biggest story on Wall Street. The Dow Jones Industrial Average has done something truly historic. It crossed the 50,000 mark for the first time ever on Friday. That's right, 50,000. The milestone came during what turned out to be the best trading day for U.S. stocks since May, with the broader market rallying hard. Apple and Boeing were among the top performers, and AI-related stocks helped fuel the surge. The S&P 500 also posted strong gains. But here's the interesting tension in this story. While the Dow is celebrating new highs, the tech software sector has been getting absolutely hammered. The iShares Expanded Tech Software Sector ETF, ticker IGV, fell a staggering 19% from January 26th to February 5th. That's a brutal drawdown in less than 2 weeks. Morningstar came out saying the sell-off was a massive overreaction and flagged several stocks as bargain buys, but the damage to portfolios has already been done for anyone who wasn't positioned correctly. So what's driving this divergence? It all comes down to the AI spending arms race. And that's our second major story. The Magnificent Seven tech giants have been reporting earnings, and while their revenue numbers were strong, they absolutely spooked investors with their capital expenditure plans. Google's parent company Alphabet announced it plans to roughly double its capex in 2026 to somewhere between $175 billion and $185 billion. Let that sink in. That's nearly double what they spent last year, all going toward AI infrastructure, data centers, chips, computing power. And Amazon? They're going even bigger. Amazon plans to spend $200 billion on AI infrastructure this year alone. $200 billion. That's more than the GDP of many countries being poured into servers and chips in a single year. The Washington Post ran a fascinating piece highlighting how this massive AI spending spree is actually causing shortages in other parts of the economy. When you're buying up every available GPU and every square foot of data center space, it creates ripple effects across construction, energy, and manufacturing supply chains. The question on every investor's mind is simple. Will these companies ever earn this money back? The AI revenue opportunity is enormous, but the investment required to stay competitive is staggering. Right now, the market is split. Some see this as visionary investment that will pay off enormously. Others see it as a dangerous bubble, where companies are spending hundreds of billions chasing a technology whose monetization path remains unclear. Now let's shift to crypto, and folks, it's not a pretty picture. Bitcoin is in free fall. As of this weekend, Bitcoin is trading around $66,000 to $68,000, and it has now lost all of its gains from the so-called Trump-era rally. Remember when Bitcoin surged on expectations of a crypto-friendly administration? Well, those gains have completely evaporated. Reuters reported that Bitcoin's slump coincides with broader investor concerns about inflated tech valuations and uncertainty around the Federal Reserve's rate cut path. Thomas Probst, a research analyst at crypto data provider Kaiko, noted that this contraction has been underway for several months and remains ongoing, suggesting it is likely to persist for some time. NPR ran a headline that really captures the mood. Trump promised a crypto revolution. Why is Bitcoin crashing? The answer is complicated, but it boils down to the fact that regulatory clarity alone doesn't create sustainable price appreciation when macro conditions aren't favorable. The digital gold narrative is getting harder and harder to believe when Bitcoin moves more like a leveraged tech stock than a safe haven asset. For those of you with positions, this is a critical time to manage risk. We're not at panic levels yet, but the trend is clearly bearish, and the market hasn't shown any convincing signs of a bottom. Let's move on to something much more exciting. The 2026 Winter Olympics have officially begun. The opening ceremony took place on Friday in Milan, Italy, and by all accounts, it was absolutely spectacular. We're talking fireworks, a dazzling performance by Mariah Carey, and yes, a dancing stovetop espresso maker, because of course Italy would include that. The ceremony took audiences on a time-traveling journey through the history of the Winter Games, from Chamonix 1924 all the way to the present day, with live musical performances spanning jazz, swing, rock, pop, electronic, and techno. The ceremony also featured a formal welcome from Giovanni Malagò, president of the Milano Cortina Organizing Committee, followed by IOC President Kirsty Coventry. And there was one viral moment that's getting a lot of attention. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance appeared on the stadium screen and was reportedly met with boos from the crowd. That clip has been circulating widely on social media, though fact-checkers are still working to verify the full context. Competition kicks off this weekend across multiple venues in northern Italy, and it's shaping up to be one of the most watched Winter Games in years. The backdrop of the Italian Alps, combined with the cultural richness of Milan, is giving these Olympics a truly unique flavor. Story number 5 takes us to Japan, where voters are heading to the polls today in a historic snap election. Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi, Japan's first female premier, called this election just 3 months into her tenure. She's betting big, trying to translate her strong approval ratings into a clear parliamentary mandate for her ambitious economic and military agenda. Takaichi has been pushing a right-wing platform focused on boosting Japan's economy through spending and tax relief, while also strengthening the country's military capabilities. This comes against a backdrop of growing tensions with China and what Bloomberg described as an unpredictable Washington. The election was called for February 8th, after Takaichi dissolved the House of Representatives on January 23rd. CNN described the atmosphere at her campaign rallies as electric, with genuine excitement among supporters. But the question remains whether that personal popularity can translate into enough seats for the ruling Liberal Democratic Party to govern effectively. This election matters well beyond Japan. How Takaichi navigates the relationship with both China and the United States will have significant implications for security and trade across the entire Asia-Pacific region. We should have results by tonight or early Monday morning. In Middle East developments, Lebanese Prime Minister Nawaf Salam has been touring areas in southern Lebanon along the border with Israel. The Lebanese army says these areas have been cleared of the armed presence of Hezbollah. Meanwhile, in Israel, bereaved parents and former hostages held a major protest in Tel Aviv on Friday, demanding a state commission of inquiry into the government's handling of security failures. The political pressure continues to mount as the region tries to find a path towards stability. And on the diplomatic front, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is visiting Malaysia this weekend for bilateral talks with Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim. This visit comes as India continues to strengthen its ties across Southeast Asia, balancing its relationships amid increasing great power competition in the region. Now for a lighter story to round out our news section. Popular streamer IShowSpeed made headlines by announcing he's taking a break from streaming after his monthly YouTube income reportedly dropped to around $800,000 a month. Yes, you heard that right. $800,000 a month, and he's taking a break. The internet had some thoughts about that one, as you can imagine. It's a fascinating window into the creator economy and how quickly the goalposts move when you're used to earning at the very top tier. So, to recap the big picture this Sunday morning. The Dow is above 50,000 for the first time ever. But the tech software sector just had its worst 2-week stretch in years. The AI spending arms race is reshaping the economy, with hundreds of billions of dollars flowing into infrastructure. Bitcoin has given back all its Trump-era gains and shows no signs of bottoming. The Winter Olympics are underway in Milan, with all the drama and spectacle you'd expect. And Japan votes today in an election that could reshape Asia-Pacific geopolitics. It's a busy world out there, and that's why we do this every morning. And now let's shift gears to today's Life Wisdom segment. Today I want to talk about one of the most powerful concepts in all of philosophy, the dichotomy of control. This idea comes from Epictetus, the ancient Stoic philosopher who was born a slave in the Roman Empire and went on to become one of the most influential thinkers in history. His core teaching, laid out in the Discourses, is deceptively simple. Some things are within your control, and some things are not. Your peace of mind depends entirely on understanding the difference. What's in your control? Your thoughts, your judgments, your actions, your effort, and your attitude. That's it. That's the complete list. What's not in your control? Everything else. The markets, other people's opinions, the weather, whether you get that promotion, whether that person texts you back, what happens in the news. All of it outside your control. Now, this sounds obvious when you hear it stated plainly, but think about how you actually spend your mental energy day to day. How much time do you spend worrying about things you cannot change? How much anxiety comes from obsessing over market movements, other people's behavior, or events that haven't happened yet? If you're honest with yourself, the answer is probably a lot. Epictetus would say that this is the root of almost all human suffering, not the events themselves, but our insistence on trying to control what we cannot. When you check your portfolio every 5 minutes, you're not controlling the market. You're letting the market control you. When you replay a conversation in your head, trying to figure out what someone else thinks of you, we're not gaining insight. You're surrendering your peace of mind to something you can never truly know. The practical application is this. Before you react to anything, pause and ask yourself one question. Is this within my control? If yes, take action. If no, let it go. Not suppress it, not ignore it. Genuinely let it go. Direct that energy towards something you can actually influence. This is especially relevant on a morning like today, when we've just spent 12 minutes talking about markets crashing, geopolitical tensions, and billion-dollar corporate bets. It's easy to feel overwhelmed. It's easy to feel like you need to react to everything. But Epictetus would remind you, you don't control any of that. What you control is how you prepare, how you respond, and how you live your day. The most successful people I've observed, in business, in investing, in life, all share this trait. They focus relentlessly on what they can control and waste almost zero energy on what they can't. They prepare thoroughly, execute with discipline, and then release attachment to the outcome. That's the dichotomy of control in action. So here's your challenge for today. Notice every time you feel stressed, anxious, or frustrated. Then ask, am I trying to control something that isn't mine to control? If the answer is yes, redirect. Put that energy into your work, your health, your relationships, the things where your effort actually makes a difference. As Epictetus himself said, make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens. That was true 2,000 years ago, and it's just as true this Sunday morning. Have a wonderful day, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you tomorrow morning. This has been your Daily Digest. Now go make the most of what's in your control.